Hello and welcome to the Low-Code Campfire. This is episode number 186 for Friday, March 14, 2025. Today is an Open Lines Friday discussion, and it may be a short discussion as we kick this off. I am alone in the meeting. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support for Plantinap, and whether we get an audience today or not, I have a couple of things to share, so we'll go from there. This is an event that we do every Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time. It's an opportunity to get together and share techniques and challenges and the things that we're experiencing within Plantain App as we use it. We encourage you to bring something to show, be ready to help others with ideas and suggestions. But it is an all skill levels welcome meeting. We welcome experts, beginners to experts, all along the spectrum of our user group. It's a good group, and usually we get opportunity to fix issues and make suggestions and help people out. We record all of these and put them on YouTube, so that's available at youtube.com/plantanap. Uh, and you can sign up using that QR code or just go to that address, subscribe, hit the alarm bell so that you'll know when we post these. This meeting is usually posted later in the afternoon, same day that it happens. We'll run this agenda where we say hello, and then we'll start with first call and anything that got submitted in advance. We may hit some of the other areas, and after an hour or so, we go into our afterglow segment. That's where we turn the recording off, continue the discussion offline, or raise a virtual adult beverage and begin to start our weekend. So do engage with us, jump in, show and tell, get into a chat, and or just the main thing, engage, and hopefully you'll get something out of this. I mentioned you can submit things in advance, and you can use this QR code or just send an email to support@plantanap.com. And with that, hello, and I'm glad that you showed up. It was going to be pretty quiet with just me.
Good morning.
So we start with first call. Did anybody bring a question or a comment, something that we can dig into?
I have a weird situation. I mentioned, I think it was probably not last week, but the week before that, I've got a project where a client likes a system that I built for another client, and so we're moving it over. In the the original system, there were a couple of dates. So I used the date picker uh, uh, field in the form, and then there's a decision if the date is between the first and last dates, the boundary dates, then do something. So I took that, exported it, and imported it on the new site and ran it, and it didn't work. The conditionals didn't work. I added some code so that I could see these items because in the on the form they were not displayed. Um, it works on the original site. It doesn't work on the new site. What I did to resolve it is instead of using the date fields, I just created a hidden variable and put in the token for the value instead of using a date field and a date picker field and using the token for the original value, and then that worked. So not really sure why there would be a difference one way or the other. Not really positive that anything can be done, but I was wondering if there's some change that happened. It was between version 125 and 126.
So I suspect it's less about changes to Plantain app. I don't think we've made changes in that area, and perhaps more about time zones and time zone settings in your server. And I
Oh,
say that, I mean, this is just a guess. When we get into date time, was it a date or a date time or?
it's a date time.
Hmm? Um, and those can be very tricky. So is there first, I guess, is the target of your site only one time zone?
Yes.
Um, you might be happier using a date. I mean, unless you need time settings as well. I mean, are you just trying to do things between two date ranges, or does time come into it as well?
Uh, the original is a date time, and the concept is that they want a form to be available starting at a particular time, date and time, and then no longer available starting at a particular date and time.
Hmm.
So if it's so, I think that uh, March 14th at 5 o'clock is what they're looking for.
Hmm.
Um, that's what they asked for. That's what we created with the date time. Now the thing is that the condition gave us zero. It wasn't like, oh, my time zone is an hour off and I'm right on the edge. I was like smack in the middle of several weeks of time, so it should have worked. So I don't. If if the point is more than just you're off a couple hours because of time zones, I don't think that's the issue, since the test, the two endpoint dates were way out, several weeks uh, uh, between today's date where I was doing the test.
Yep. Um, yeah, you and so I started down that path. That's the usual thing, the usual area of concern. But you say that it returned to zero, so it was false, and so the form wasn't showing up. Is that
Right.
um, so? What did you learn when you were starting to display the actual dates that were involved?
That the date picker fields, after I said to go ahead and show them, they were showing the proper date and time,
Hmm.
and yet the conditional wasn't working. So there's something about that, the value that's there, that threw it off. Again, when I got rid of those and just created hidden values with the tokens, because all those dates are stored in the database. There's a management table with one record in it that has all of the configuration settings for the form.
Hmm.
And so the first thing that I do at pre-init or init, I forget, yeah, I think init, is go out and grab that record and grab those values. And then those are the hidden values that I have.
So the date time fields were. It sounds like they weren't being initialized as you would have expected, right? If I understand what you did, you created hidden fields which basically act like text fields. There's no special logic to them, and you're initializing them with the exact same values, and you're getting the response that you expect.
Yes.
So, um, yeah. So it sounds like the datetime fields were not initializing correctly for whatever reason, and I mean, had you tried unhiding them, they were hidden fields, not visible.
Yes, they were not being displayed, right?
So had you um, displayed them, and then oftentimes, um, if you haven't done it before, there's a display error message thing that lets you like from a testing perspective, you can put a button on the form to very quickly display the values that are in a field.
Huh.
Are you familiar with that
Uh,
um,
I think
technique?
I know what you're talking about, but
Yeah, kind of easy to show. So maybe for the use of anyone that's following along later, um, and it's just a construct that I use all the time. There's a couple of different debugging things that are probably quite useful. Um,
always interested in learning new debugging techniques.
yes. So um, give me just a second here to bring up a generic form. So I have a form here, and I have A, B, C, D fields that are available. And if I were to, let's see what's on this. This one's called Basic Action Form, so I'm going to open it up. I might already have this under a submit button. We'll see. So the submit button, it has nothing. The submit button isn't doing anything. So we'll take this one over. Um, if you just look for this display error message action.
Hmm.
So you could create a button, doesn't matter, and I would typically create it, and if uh, maybe only for debugging and then delete it or hide it. You can also conditionalize the button. If you're trying to do it on a live form, you can conditionalize it so it only shows up if you're using a special thing, for example, special value in the um, query string. But there's one easy way. There's this append all fields, and so all the default values of the fields are going to show. And so we don't have to do anything more than that. Put a button on a field, a display error message, append all fields. And so now when you, I'll refresh here, but when you click the button, you're going to get a display of uh, A has the value of of D, and so you get A and B and Dale Warner. So it's whatever the values are, just quickly pop out. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Okay.
So if you were to, whether the button was hidden or not hidden, if you were, excuse me, whether your date time field was hidden or not hidden, you'd be able to use something like this to discover the value. And now I'm going to do a more specific test to kind of demonstrate this technique because maybe we can learn something about date time as well. So I'm just going to set up a test form here real quick. Um, so this is going to create a little form for me that we can work with. And so I have my form. And so we'll put a date time on it and then we'll do this display because I want to show it in kind of two ways. So we have date time and we'll put that on and I'm going to add another one, just a date field, date picker, and then we'll add a show values button. And in the same way, we'll add that error message, display error message, append all fields, and so we'll get our values out of them. So now we can say tomorrow at 5 p.m. and the 16th and hit show values. And so we can see the default for this is 3:15 at 5 p.m. Even if these were hidden and we can, illustrate, maybe we give it an initial value of 3:14, 25, and I don't know how, I don't, well, I'm not sure I'm giving it a good value, and then maybe this is a good illustration. Um, let's do that. We'll initialize it when it starts up. See if we can get it to come do it correctly. See how I didn't get the time right for me. So the what it's expecting for initialize is pretty specific to initialize a date and time picker. Um, do this in a different way. I think it wants an ISO format, so this should give us the current date and time. Let's see. Yeah, so that worked. Daytime ISO worked to initialize it. As far as the current time, you would need to initialize if you're trying to do a specific time in the future or the past. You would need to convert it into the right format so that it initializes correctly. Point that I was going to make, a couple of points. If this was hidden, so we'll say, for example, we just false this out. Uh, oh, how did you hide it? Was it
Just like that.
Okay. Um, so this is kind of a challenge because I think uh, this is not the same as hiding it visually. It actually, I'm pretty sure this means it's not going to render into the form.
Huh.
It's not there. So if I do this and hit show values, I get nothing because there's nothing there. If you can another so instead of false, let's do this one step at a time. And we'll bring this back so it's no longer hidden. Show values, and it's going to have a good date. So there's just the act of hiding it in that show conditionally makes it not there, and it wouldn't be available in a condition.
Interesting.
But
The
there's other ways to
original
hide
code
it.
does that, and it works. The new code on the new site
Well,
did the
you
same thing, and it didn't work.
might want to examine that because I would that would not be expected. But there's other things like you can instead of hiding it through the show, you can say th through the show condition that we did earlier, you can false it out here in the bind expressions. So this is it's on the form, um, but not shown. And now it has a value because it's there.
Ah, okay. So use the bind
Yes.
instead of
So
the show conditionally.
this one is the one that if this is false, it's not present on the form and not available to use in any way.
Hmm.
Um, so you can hide it that way through a bind expression. Another way is through CSS. You can add I can't remember.
Display none.
Yeah, display none exactly.
Got
So
it.
have to hide both. Whoops. Hopefully I did that right. Um, yeah, you have to hide. This is in styles. We're hiding both the label and the control. So again, it won't be visible to the user, but it is physically it is within the HTML, and so it
Hmm.
can have a value. So I would look carefully at the way that might be the problem, that it was hidden in some other way besides this, or something else was going on where it might have still had a value. Um, anyway, show there's something along the visibility issue is probably the thing.
Got
While we're
it.
talking while we're talking about debugging techniques, though, I'm going to bring this back for visibility and show one of my other favorite debugging actions. So we have it back. We're doing display error message, and we're getting just those two things. But date and time pickers have lots more values that you could look at, all these different colon values, and those can be revealed in a simple action. Um, I'm going to add another action here, context to either one of these. I'm going to do JSON array and move it above. So this takes everything, all the tokens that are available in your context, and puts them into an array, and I'm going into JSON, and I'm going to just call this tokens. It doesn't matter what we call it, but it's going to store all the tokens into a token called tokens. Hopefully that's not too confusing. And then instead of or in addition to displaying all of this, I'm going to say tokens is tokens.
Hmm.
So this one, when you click it now, in addition to getting this other, you get all of this. And let's see if I can format this nicely. So all these other values that are part of this date and time, you might not want to use the default one. You know, datetime picker has it with no colon has that value. But if you want an ISO value or a UTC value or a formatted, all these different things, you can grab the day, the month name. All these things are part of what's available from a date time picker.
Hmm.
And so that technique reveals all those subtokens quite easily without a lot of effort or guessing. We used to have to guess, a lot of typing in your display error message to say, well, show me the day of the year or whatever. This is just show me everything.
Very cool.
So with all that, I've been doing a lot of chatting. Anyone have any other suggestions for Don?
So it sounds like best case though, instead of, or sorry, best in class type of a solution is if you have the value and it's in a field and you're just comparing it, you don't need to put it into a datetime picker unless I guess you want all these other potential formats done for you. You could just grab a hidden value and which is what I ultimately ended up doing is just using a hidden value and then reading it from there. Um, but
Exactly.
also the other thing with the show, now I realize that it shouldn't have worked on the other side. So I have to go look and see what I've got and why is it working in the original. Um,
Right. So there's some um, a couple of things come to mind. If you have a for example, if you use some events to um, create a value, like so for example, you could have a create update token that maybe reads a database and it or and comes out with a database, all the values out of a database. I'll tell you what, I have a favorite one here. We have I have a book entity which you may recognize, Don. And
mhm.
I got to go find it here, but I'm pretty sure. Let's see if book one exists. Um, find my books. But I'm just doing the simple way of reading a book, and I want to know some ID that exists here. So yeah, book one exists. I'm going to go with book three, Foundation and Empire. That's a nice. So I'm going to read book three, and it's going to be my books. Um, and so within books, there are fields like the last updated date, right? So last modified date, there it is. So in my logic, after I read book, I'm going to try to initialize my picker, which is called datetime picker. Um, with book's last modified date. So I'm getting it from book and pushing it to this thing called datetime picker. Does it make
Oh,
sense?
okay. Yeah.
So in my datetime picker, I'm going to avoid using an initial value now. And so hopefully it's going to come from book three. So let's save and see if we can make that work. So it did. It was last modified in 421. So I'm pushing that and getting the value from a book and pushing it on to datetime picker. And if I show the values, it's there, right? So now for
Hmm.
fun, um, this is just an area I haven't tried, and you've got my curiosity going. Um, if I false this out, so this field no longer exists on the form. Um, so I'm going to expect that show values, we get nothing. That's good. Um, I'm, I'm going to do a text box here and initialize it with date time picker. Let's see what it comes up with. I think I know what's going to happen, but until you actually try it, you never quite know. So this may be the area where you're running into some fun. Datetime picker doesn't exist on the form, but in our events we create a token called datetime picker. The token comes into existence at the time these events run, and you can draw on that token even though datetime picker isn't on the form. It's weird. It exists only for the period where those events go. Anyway, I'm wandering
Hmm.
off into a weird area. Maybe it's useful, maybe it's not. The the thing that you discovered that whether you create a hidden field and populate it with the date, that's the simplest thing because it's not enforcing any particular format, and it is on your form and it will be available for buttons and conditions to operate. When you put a datetime picker and hide it or hide it with a show, you start getting into a weird area. And so the particular form uh, may work, but the way you've discovered is really the more reliable way.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
Fun stuff. Anyone else come with something you wanted to discuss? Cool. I'm going to move on to one or two things. As we are about to see, I'll mention next Wednesday is going to be the release date of our starter plan. You should get a planning an email, a newsletter on Monday that will announce that, and then Wednesday in the Low-Code Cafe, I'm going to demonstrate um, some of the features of the starter plan. Um, and I believe that's also then going to be the beta release of our 127 release. And so if you want to get into beta and play with that, it will should be available. That's the plan. But it brings up the idea that soon um, the ability to update to a major version um, for 127 will be coming along when it gets released finally. And oh, so I just wanted to mention some of the we since it's been a while since a major version, we could talk about best practices and things like that. Also, one of the people that are here on the call today is in the middle of doing a major version update, so it might be valuable as well. So one of the things now I'm going to get into this a few of the details about that one, the generic when you do an update. Um, so let's see. if I can find a spot here. So first of all, we're talking about in Plant and Apps configuration pages, there's updates, and when a new version is available, it will show up as a button here. So at some point, we'll see version 1.27 is available, and you can click it and do a one-click update. So in terms of best practices, if you have the ability to do that on a clone or offline with the idea that you're going to do it and explore the update and then revert if you have any problems, though, that kind of thing. Those would be best practices. Ideally, you would do it not um, on a production system, but on a clone or a development environment. Um, but then one of the things that we encountered yesterday with this upgrade is that all the signs say the upgrade worked fine. It's an upgrade from 125 to 126. The um, all the different things that we could look at, all the DLLs updated from their 125 versions to or 525 versions to the 5.26 versions. We have a health test workflow that you can run that shows that everything is okay, that all the migration script works. So it was looking really good, and yet the error logs were full of errors. And so trying to discern, did my upgrade work right, was a problem. When you see all those errors, it's a little bit scary. And so I asked our chief developer the question, and I got this answer back. When you upgrade a production site and people are trying to hit the site, that it's you haven't disabled it in any way, that those are firing up the site in the middle of the upgrade, and so some things that should be available may not be available, and you start getting messages like the DI container is not available, or I don't remember all the different varieties of error messages, but um, bottom line, when you hit a site while the upgrade is in progress, um, that can throw errors, and it can throw a lot of errors. And then, and I don't know if you want to confirm that people could be hitting the site or not, and if you want to throw cold water on my theory here of what happened, be happy to know that. But if people were hitting the site, it would cause that. And yet, the indication that all the upgrades applied, the other things that you can look at besides the error log says, okay, this really did work out okay. And then the other part of the answer I got back, but the only way to know for sure is to then, after the upgrade, test the functionality of the site. So um, that leads um, that leads to the idea of maintenance mode, which is something that I think I demonstrated, but it's a contribution that was made in the Campfire site um, in this summit section. It's also in the contributions, but um, in the contributions list. But I did it for DNN Summit a few months ago, and so there's some scripts here that enable and disable a site and put it into maintenance mode so you can get at it and perform the upgrade, but your standard users are sent to a hey, this site is down page, and that kind of thing should avoid those errors that I was talking about. Matt, I didn't see. How long have you had your hand raised? I've been waiting for somebody to
It's
give it
been
that.
days
Yeah,
I've been
and
sitting here.
here I am just blathering.
Not at all, not at all. Just kidding. So my question is regarding this whole people hitting the site in the midst of an upgrade. Um, you put this in the context of a major site upgrade. What if you're doing, hot fixes? I would imagine that the same sort of rules apply, so to speak. Is that
Absolutely. We don't really differentiate. I mean, yes, you're right. There is a major update just means that like everything is being updated, but we use the same mechanism. And so whether you're applying one hot fix or dozens or a major update, it's all the same thing. And yeah, so enabling having maintenance mode in your pocket and being able to turn it on and lock people out for the duration is your safest course. Your safest course is always to be able to go into maintenance mode, have a backup that you're willing to use, because in any given update, things can go wrong.
Thank you.
And just to provide a little context with that, when I say things can go wrong, the DNN platform allows I mean, we are a product that runs on top of the DNN platform. There can be the simplest scenario is you're running Plantain app and DNN and nothing else, and that's kind of our ideal scenario because um, that's what we test. But you could be running anybody else's anything, and you can run into conflicts with that. You can have a system that's been very old and upgraded year by year, and so that just kind of introduces complexities. Your web config may not be what we expect. Anything can happen, and so well, I don't want to give the impression of unreliability, but there's reasons why we can't predict what's going to happen on your system when you upgrade. So given that, if you have a backup that you're willing to use, then um, I've done this before, right? Before I was in my current role, installing Plantain app, installing a hot fix to a action form blew up my site, and as a client, it made me crazy. But there's reasons why stuff like that can break, and so being ready for it, even though you just want to do a one dot level hot fix, it can cause issues. Of course, known incompatibilities is the too sexy product, but can could be anything. So I cannot remember. Maybe you guys can help me. Did I show off the maintenance mode, and is that in this form, and is it something that you'd be interested in seeing, or is just pointing to this sufficient for the purpose?
I think it'd be good to see it.
Okay, well, great. Let's see if I can jump out there and do that. I didn't. I've got that system up, but not in maintenance mode. Let's see if I can get it to happen. We, I have a site, and let's see if I can find the script. Here it is. Drag this across. So this is my server, and I have some scripts. They're PowerShell scripts. These are the ones that are talked about on the site that I was just pointing to. And we have a maintenance mode enable script, a disable script, and a shortcut to some HTML. So I'm going to open that. And this is kind of the thing that this is something that you can prepare in advance. And so let's see if I can This is not what I had expected, so let me find it in the actual website. We have hopefully maintenance mode HTML. And so the idea here is that we're going to edit this and prepare for our downtime. Within here, there is some when the system is going to when we plan to be done with our upgrade. There's a nice date here. So this is our upgrade is going to be completed on March 14, 2025 at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we have a message that our system is currently undergoing scheduled maintenance. Just a message like that. Everything else doesn't. That configures us so that when we're in maintenance mode, they're going to see a nice message. So that's one setup step, and then we have this maintenance mode enable, which I am going to. What's the right way to do this? Nope. I'm going to open it in PowerShell. So I have maintenance mode enable as a script, and it says, where is the web config? And that's the only thing, and this is the wrong path, so I need to fix this script. Right, this is the path to the web config, so it's actually this site over here. And so we say this script is going to modify our web config to do this work. And so if we save and run this, it says that it maintenance mode rule already exists in web config. Let's see what happens if this worked as expected. So I'm doing this on the wrong site. I'm not prepared for this, so I'm gonna sorry, I'm stumbling a little bit. Does it make you happy when I struggle? Put this back the way it was and run it and see if that does it. Okay. So when this works right, if you have it correctly configured, it will send any visitor to our maintenance mode page. So good. So we're using the site that was all set up for, and it says we'll be back soon. And gee, it didn't. Okay, so I didn't correctly configure the right maintenance mode page. So let's do that. We'll give you the full experience. Page is under the NBITX site. Maintenance mode page is here. So I did the wrong one earlier. And so now we'll get the right date.
You wanted that to be 2025 instead of 2026?
Patrick isn't here today. He would have stopped me, I'm sure. So yes, so now it's giving me a countdown. And one more time, March 14, 2025, Central Standard Time. I would have thought this would have given me a 12-minute countdown or something like that, getting an hour and 12. So something still not quite right. But the idea is that you can set it up, you can prevent people from getting to your site. Um, you can provide a nice, useful message, a nice logo, but you're still running the same site. You don't need a separate license. You can to try to put up you're running it under the existing license, but this stuff is happening um, before they get access to the site, so they're not hitting the site and triggering the refresh and the errors. But this rule has the thing that got put into place besides that message. When we went into maintenance mode, there is it's setting up to looking for an admin access cookie. So if you know that you need a cookie called admin access with a value of 1234, this is your way to get through and to use the site. So if we go into inspect mode and create this cookie, we can do it manually here. Cookies at the site, we can add. Oh, here it is. It's right here already. I'm going to do 1234 as the value. Once we have that value, now we can browse to the site and it'll let us through. So we have access, but anybody else going to the site, um, take the same URL, look at it incognito, and if you don't have the cookie, you have no access. If you do have the cookie, you have access. And I guess let's do that again. If we go here and this page is actually refreshing from time to time, and you can control how often it refreshes. But then the nice thing is that when you go and use the disable script, and I'm going to open that now. So disabling maintenance mode does the same thing. It just changes the web config, removing the rule. So maintenance mode has been removed. That when this page refreshes, it'll just pop back to the site automatically, or if they refresh the page manually using this check to see if site is up, you can do that. I don't know how long this is set for. I'll give it a couple more seconds and then, yeah, I lost my patience. I'm going to click the button, check to see if the site is up, and the site comes up. So it's a nice thing you can turn on and turn off, and easy peasy.
Very interesting.
So all the scripts for that are here. This is the code to enable maintenance mode, and it tells you exactly where you just have to define the path to the web config. You also have to have URL rewrite installed on that server. That's really the first step. It tells you to install URL rewrite. It's a very quick and easy install done, but you have to have rights on your server to install a program. But this is a Microsoft add-on that enables the ability to rewrite. So you run the PowerShell script to turn it on, and the PowerShell script to turn it off. And both of these things point to this document here. This is the maintenance mode HTML that you would put in the root of your site and fill in the blanks for when you expect it to be up and what the message is. And let's see, this is also I've got it wrong here. This is how often it will try to redirect to the home page. It says 60 seconds, but it's actually doing it every 10 seconds. So anyway, put those three things into place with the URL rewrite, and you should be good to go. PowerShell scripts can be run by Plant an App, so I've demonstrated it somewhere. I haven't actually got it turned on, but you could set it up under Plant an App to be able to click a button and activate maintenance mode, and click another button and it would turn it off. So.
Thank you, Dale. That's very helpful. Much appreciated.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
So we talked about backups that you're willing to use. There's also in this list of Summit things, there's some things where you can demonstrations on how to do a backup and both database and file system, and these are very fast. Particularly when you have a very big file system, and as long as you have room to keep a complete copy of your file system, you on your hard drive, this is a very fast technique to be able to the backup runs reasonably fast, but the restore is an incremental. Essentially, it just changes the things that have changed, and so it's lightning fast in restoring your site. So that's something else to look at, whether you want to do something like this versus having to do a complete restore that may take a long time. Something else that occurred to me that I have and could make available as a contribution. Haven't done that yet, but I will point out that it's available, and if you think it's worthwhile, I'll add it as a out to Campfire. I've written some SQL some long time ago that you can use in a listing that looks at the event log table. And I don't know if you've ever looked at event log, you're doing this, look at admin logs, and there are really quite a lot of alerts, and there can be, depending on your site, thousands of them. And so finding, is which what kind of alert you're looking for, and finding if anything went wrong that you care about. This summarizes it. So we have in the prior 7 days, this listing is showing that I've had 39 times when the operation was canceled as an event, 9 times when a task was canceled, 8 times when it failed to execute some particular action. So provides a nice summary that you can use to say what's going on my system. And then this is the last time that these things happen. So my last error happened on March 12th. I don't have any recent errors that are these general exceptions that I'm concerned about. Anybody use something similar or would like to see something similar? And Jim has his hand up, so he gets to answer first or ask. Jim, did you want to jump in? Oh, Matt.
So is this something that you are going to have already posted somewhere, or
I will post if anybody's interested.
I have a keen interest in it, Dale, if you would not mind. I'm sure others could use it too.
So before we go away, I'll just show this. This is a pretty standard listing, and so the real magic is just the part where what is the sequel to generate that kind of thing. And you can see I'm sorry, I'm scrolling around here. It's not long. You could adjust this by way of um, I mean, I've set it hard coded for 7 days, but it would be very easy to change this parameter to bind it to 1 day or 24 hours or 2 hours or whatever. So you could focus this in on a narrower time, but it's just this sequel. I won't make you wait for it, but I will post it as a and oh, now I'm looking at the chat. No, Jim, we could not hear you. I'm going to post this on the chat so you don't have to wait for it. You could just use this and run with it, but I'll post it as a contribution for everyone forever. So then once you have that, then you're just putting things, putting those fields on adding fields to the output and setting them up to sort and things like that so that you can manipulate them. So Jim was asking whether the backup restore would work in a shared hosting environment. Well, it just depends on whether or not, couple things. PowerShell, you have to have access to PowerShell in order to do that. So if you have access to PowerShell, that's one thing, and have fun, Don. And then uh, yeah, it's really about PowerShell. What I'm using in those scripts is, let's see if I can find them. Where are we? Maintenance mode, summit, file system backup and restore. If we look at these, they are I've built one main folder operations script that that you can call using a very short syntax using other scripts, but they are PowerShell scripts. And underlying it, if we get into it, it's using RoboCopy. And so even if you don't use my scripts, if you have access to RoboCopy, which is a robust copy functionality, which is a kind of a standard thing, you can use this is just pre-configured with all the options to do that lightning fast stuff. So it really depends on if you have access to PowerShell and RoboCopy. Question for your hosting provider, I think. Absolutely. Um, great. So I guess now we're at last call. It's 1 minute till, and then I'll call it. Anyway. Thanks for spending your hour with us. We'll do it again next week, and enjoy your weekend. Hang around if you can for Afterglow.